And happy Sunday, everyone. I'm Jonathan McNamara with JMU Sound Off. As the Dukes are getting set for a Tuesday matchup against Texas State, we're going to give you a preview of all that action. But before we get to that conversation, we're going to have an exclusive conversation with James Madison University Athletic Director Matt Roan. So with that, we know you're going to want to hear from him. We're going to get right into our sponsors conversation so that we can maximize our time with our athletic director. First off, and our sponsor, Skyline Financial Partners. Remember that you can empower your family for lasting financial success. Learn more at skylinefinancialpartners.com. Champions Drive Bourbon. Remember that every bottle of Champions Drive that is purchased goes to support JMU and our pursuit of championships. Find an ABC store near you at abc.virginia.gov. Our friends from Where's Woody, wearing one of their new sweatshirts that they debuted in the last couple of weeks. Remember that for 48 hours after every JMU Sound Off broadcast, you can get 25% off your order by putting in promo code SOUNDOFF25. And remember, that's at where'swoody.com. Purple Nation now with stores in Midlothian, the west end of Richmond, Northern Virginia, and coastal Virginia. Holiday seasons are right around the corner. No better place to get your gifts than at Purple Nation, always online at yourpurplenation.com. Shoker Enterprises, always appreciate Joe Shoker's support. He is big in his efforts to impact personal, civic, and institutional productivity. Great philanthropic efforts in around the Harrisonburg area, so thank you to Joe. The Dead Meat Society, remember that you can join the movement for grilling enthusiasts at deadmeatsociety.com. Outdoor kitchen creations, a lot of people looking for great holiday gifts. If you're looking to take your outdoor kitchen to the next level, visit them at backyardtrends.com. And then our friends from Valley Road Vineyards. Next time you're on I-64 between Harrisonburg and Richmond, stop by. Let them know you heard about Valley Road from JMU Sound Off, and you get 50% off your wine flight. And remember to consider them for your holiday gatherings, your birthday parties, weddings, rehearsal dinners. You can learn more about what they can do for your events at valleyroadwines.com. And with that, we're going to bring in Taylor Atkins, Michael Evangelista, and Matt Roan, who is somewhere in the state of Texas, across the street from a Buc-ee's. He found himself what looks like a pretty good recording studio in a hotel lobby. First of all, Matt, thank you for taking some of your time on a Sunday while you're road tripping to Texas. I'm going to ask you just a very basic question right off the bat. Did you ever expect to hear the phrase Hall of Famer and Matt Roan in the same breath? Talk about this weekend. I'm sure it was pretty special for you and Mallory. Congratulations.
I appreciate it, but short answer to your question is no, right? You don't do this for accolades or awards, but we have tried, and I say we because Mallory and I, right, our entire family is invested everywhere we've ever been, and we've always tried to just leave a place better than we found it. And fortunately, at Nichols, we had, just like we have at JMU, a bunch of people who were pulling the rope in the same direction, who said yes every time we said, hey, we have this idea, or we want, or we need something. And yesterday was really the culmination of that. And so incredibly appreciative of the opportunity that we had to go back and to see so many people, and pretty special day, pretty special weekend.
Well, since you mentioned Mallory, I thought you did a very nice job on Instagram saying my name might be on this plaque, but your hands are all over it. So I'm going to give you a chance to give your wife, who's well-deserved of a shout-out, before we have some fun with her with Buc-ee's, of what it's not only meant for her to be a part of this journey, but your entire family who's now also doing that in Harrisonburg. We've seen them in videos in your car. We've seen them out in the tailgate lots. It really has been incredible to see not only how much you've embraced JMU, but how the entire JMU community has really rallied around them as well.
Yeah, for me, how about that quote, though? That was pretty special.
Pretty nice.
I came up with that on my own, right? I did not chat GPT. I did not AI that at all. She thought I did. And I said, no, that was all from up here. But what I said was my name and photo would be on the plaque, but her fingerprints are all over it. And what I mean by that, right, is the things that she has sacrificed, right? Time with me, trips, so many different things that she has sacrificed, and the commitment that she makes to help raise our family, the commitment that she makes to really raise our family at games, right? On practice fields. I mean, sometimes we're eating dinner, watching our team play basketball, or, sitting at Centera Park and watching a soccer match. But, we really look at this as a family affair. There's this notion that you probably heard me say this before, Jonathan, about there really is no such thing as work-life balance. I believe that there is this notion of work-life integration, and those two things are seamless for us. And so, yeah, she deserves every bit the credit that I deserve for anything that I've ever achieved. Our kids are the same way, but I hope that our fan base at JMU and Harrisonburg can see the sincerity. We bleed and purple and gold. We live and die with every outcome, and so when we can get on a video and say, "Hey, thanks," it's sincere. And when we get on a video and say, "Hey, we need you next time," it's a rally call to try to get more people involved. So, yeah, really, really appreciative of the family that I
we were
have.
the
She's
first.
standing in the background here. So
We were the first to call her co-AD, so I know
that's right.
you put that out there, gave her the title and everything that comes with it. I'd be remiss though, because you told us before the show that she got a pretty good Bucky's haul. So if Mallory's, what'd she get? What'd she bring from inside? She's smart.
You want to come here really quick?
She knows that would be something we would ask her. So
their question is, did you get a pretty good Bucky's haul just now? I actually cut her short because they didn't have connectivity over there. So yes. She's a little mad at me right now that I'm
a little sad. I'm on the hunt while I'm here for really good purple things. But I'm always on the hunt.
All right. Well, I'm sure there's another Bucky's on the way.
There is.
On the way. Whatever. Her AirPod is not picking up her voice, so we may have to. We'll dub it in. But Mallory, congratulations on the Hall of Fame, everything that goes with it, and thank you for everything you've done for the program. It's awesome to see you guys continue to have well-deserved success, and just know it's been great.
Thank you very much. There we go. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate that. Matt gave me a really sweet shout out in his speech yesterday, but it just to reiterate it is a family affair for us, and it has been since day one. So I really appreciate that, and coming from y'all, it's really special. And so thank you. It's very, very sweet. Thank you.
Well, Mallory, I do have to ask you though, since we do have you and now we can hear you. Like,
please, yes.
You've become kind of like, I don't want to use words like this lightly, but kind of a fashion icon now in the Harrisonburg area. Like, I feel like people are waiting to see what your game day fits are. Matt's already posted that. That's why he's got to work a little harder to make sure that he can fund those endeavors. But how fun has that been for you to kind of to use that as a way to endear yourself to the fan base and to build kind of some meaningful connections so early in your journey at JMU?
Absolutely. Well, first off, are you trying to butter me up, sir, with that amazing compliment? The fashion icon here,
hey,
it's working.
I've already gave the co-AD. It's out there. So
yes, the co-AD. She needs her fits. No, you know what? I have so much fun with it. It's a creative outlet for me. As silly as that might sound, I love fashion. I love anything with clothes. And so it's become a challenge for me to make something a little bit different each week. I do get asked like, what's the next game day fit? What are you gonna wear? But I'm being so honest, all week long, I will pick out like 3 or 4 things. I style a bunch of different stuff in my closet. You should see my closet. Oh my gosh. That's why Matt is joking, but not joking about the funding. And it's my mood the day of, but it is so fun. I have people tell me like, my wife just bought these shoes because she thought, oh, Mallory would wear those. And that is the ultimate compliment. I love that so much. It is just, I'm having a ball. If you can't tell, I'm having an absolute ball. So.
Well, to the Robacks, the Peter Millars, the Where's Woody that are out there, there's an opportunity here. Let's make the connection. We got an icon with a following who's ready to build some fits. I'm sure we can get her number.
She's ready. Yes. She's ready. Boutiques, hit me up. Yes. I'll give you back to Matt.
Awesome. Thank you, Mallory.
Thank you.
All right, Matt. Well, sorry that we're costing you a little bit extra money with this icon stuff, but maybe you can have this in your contract negotiations with President Jim. You got to fund it.
I could only hear one side of the conversation there, so it's dangerous. So I'll have to go back and listen to what y'all had to say on your end.
Awesome. All right, Michael, the floor is yours.
I was gonna say, let's hop into it, Matt. Number one, thanks for spending the time with us, especially on a Sunday afternoon. Let's just go into it, right? 6-1 start. You've had your impact across Bridgeforth so early in your tenure with the new additions, with the on the field suites, the premium suites on the north side. There's been so much change on and off the field. How has the first half of this season maybe met or challenged your expectations as the AD?
Yeah, I think it's met expectations, right? If there's any expectation that hasn't been met, and I think this is a testament to the type of program that we have, specifically for football, it's that we're 6-1 and not 7-0, right? I mean,
Right.
we go to Louisville and we expect to win that football game, and we left there disappointed. And so, I think anytime that we compete, you think that we can win, and that's an expectation that we all embrace. But outside of the lines, first off, let me say incredibly proud of 6-1, right? How we've grown as a program. We're a much better program going into Tuesday night at Texas State than we were when we hosted Weber State in the very beginning. And you hope that you're clicking on all cylinders at the right time and in those right moments. But I think outside the lines, we always, I said this before, from year, 2024 to 25, we wanted to take the things that we do well and do them even better, and we wanted to take things that we weren't doing well and try to improve, and things that we weren't doing right. What can we do that's new and additional? And I think, again, between those south end zone on field suites, between the cabanas that we had last year and trying to make those better, between 4 and 5 on the east side, really trying to reimagine that. One, for revenue purposes, but two, just for really kind of crowd control purposes. Really proud of the team that I have in place. A lot of those ideas are their ideas. The execution is their execution. I just get to go on Sound Off and talk about it. So, I think we've met expectations there. We're always looking for ways to further improve. And when the on the field between the lines is matched with what we have off the field in the stands, it's pretty special, Michael.
No, I love it. I love it. And there was just so much like positivity coming out of homecoming. We talk about on the field and off the field. Remember last week, if you listen to our podcast or anyone else, everyone was talking about how amazing the fan experience was, from like the crypto video, like teasing Coach Chesney's account, the music where it was a party at Bridgeforth, right? And we even brought back the touchdown squirrel. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about, like, what did the discussions look like going into game day and all the different enhancements? Like, what does that conversation look like in the offseason, or maybe leading up to, a home game, which we won't have one until November 15th?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think year to year, you can take your time, right? You can, again, we go to different stadiums, right? We see different trends that are happening around the country, and we say, how can we, take some of that, right? How do we make it uniquely JMU? And that's a phrase that I always come back to. And so you have more time to do those things. But sometimes, a head football coach buys a new G-Wagon, and then the next day he buys a new house with his crypto earnings, and you just have to have fun with that. And so somebody had sent me a video of the Pump It Up song to
Right.
Bitcoin, and I sent it to Melissa Wyant, and I said, hey, here's an idea. And she ran with it, and obviously we put together what we put together with, again, making that uniquely JMU. And I sent it to Coach Chesney, and I said, hey, you got to trust me on this one. I think our fans are going to love it. He was a great sport. And so that one came together pretty quickly, but obviously it was a pretty big hit, and we had a lot of fun with it last week.
This is so awesome. I think it just I think John hit it on earlier. It kind of talks about like the yes mentality the program has taken over the last couple of years with you and just the program in general, really embracing like social media and the fan base. I think it's great. Speaking of which, November 22nd, we've got Marvel Day coming up, which I believe is the first time a film studio has partnered with a university. Tell all of us, like, how does that even come about, right? I think there's a lot of excitement about it. What happens in the off season?
Yeah, Marvel's done some things, and I might be wrong here, but I think they've done some things with maybe Major League Baseball before, right? They've done some things with, maybe the National Hockey League, NHL at one point. But I remember, this time last year, we saw Washington, I think they did something with like World of Warcraft.
Right.
And there was a lot of hype about it. There was, a lot of buzz. And then, I just felt like the delivery of it, after the soundbite of, hey, they're partnering in this way, it just maybe left a little bit to be desired. And, again, I go back to having great people around you. But Jeff Poglace, our Deputy Athletics Director, and Melissa Wyant, our Associate AD for fan experience, really just kind of had a meeting of the minds that said, hey, we should look at doing something like that. And they were the ones who had the conversations with Marvel. They were the ones who obviously, you can imagine, how legal those things can be. They were the ones who developed to make it possible, right? Worked really closely with our foundation. So Warren Coleman, Garrett King, to really just kind of get more people on board there. And so that was several months in the making. And obviously now that we have announced the partnership on the other side of homecoming here over the next several weeks, we're looking forward to really be able to kind of slow tease some of those activations and what that's all going to look like for people, again, in the stands and on the field. And we're excited to unveil that here pretty soon.
And if I remember correctly, there'll be some Marvel JMU combo swag available to either be given out or purchased. Like what can fans expect without giving away too much?
Yeah, I think exactly those things, right? I think you're going to see activations inside of our bookstore for people to be able to purchase. I think there's going to be some promotional items that we're going to be able to offer, and then there might be even a uniform tweak that I think fans could maybe see with that as well.
Okay, awesome. I'll leave it at that. That's an exciting one. And with the way Washington State's playing right now, I think we're going to need JMU fan base to really show out on November 22nd. That's a big game. Hopefully it's a night game. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Be here, but that sounds like exciting stuff. With basketball season right around the corner, do we expect any maybe changes on the maybe fan experience for basketball games? Maybe some new music or whatnot, similar to football?
Yeah, those are, again, as we kind of go from season to season, Melissa, obviously with kind of that fan experience piece, right? Ty Phillips, with people coming in and out of the venue, right? What does that experience look like inside of the venue, just from kind of that patron standpoint, even more than just that fan standpoint? Those are things that we evaluate every single off season, and we'll have some tweaks to that, and obviously new videos, new music, things that we're doing that from year to year, hopefully fans will notice and appreciate.
Awesome. I love that. Let's talk about sort of this holistically now, right? With the growth on the donor side, even 9-4 last year, first bowl game, 6-1 start, all these records that we're breaking on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. Talk to the fans about the growth, right? I feel like we've had a number of new alpha dogs in the off season. There seems to be a new alpha dog like every week after every game. We're introducing someone. Maybe talk about the program. Maybe do a little pitch there, Matt, as we kind of grow that. But then also, what's that impact look like on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I'll say, I'll kind of talk again very broadly, and I'll kind of narrow that down. But FY25 was a remarkable year for us, and I want to give Scooter Rankin, his team, and the Duke Club a ton of credit to eclipse 10,000 donors for the first time in school history, right? To be almost $5.4 million in annual fund support. Our total giving was, I think, almost at $8 million, and largely that's because of people supporting and contributing to Proud and True, and that really is the lifeblood of our program. But also that total giving number includes that sports specific piece, and the Alpha Dogs is a great program, right? That I talk about wants and needs, right? I think as a department and as an institution, we're very much able to give our programs everything that they need, where our expectations can match that level of investment. But I think there's occasionally wants as well in that, right? There's, Coach Chesney might want this, or Coach Grotzky might want this, and the Alpha Dog support, that excess, right? That little bit more, that margin, does a phenomenal job for us. And the same is true for our Dog Pound. The same is true for our Assist Club. And so again, when you look at just what a philanthropic arm should look like, you want to have that lifeblood, you want to have that annual fund support, that sports specific giving is critically important as well. And then the piece that we're building towards is what does that capital piece look like? Right? What is that starting to build some projects and getting people on board with that?
Awesome.
Well, Matt, I echo Michael and John. I really appreciate you coming on. I think it's really neat to have a Division I athletic director willing to take the time to come on here and talk to the fans like this.
No, you got it.
I have a few questions. The first thing is kind of more of a just something I witnessed a couple of weeks ago. North Texas, who's having a great season in the American Conference, they announced their first ever sellout when they hosted USF. It was national TV. Both were at the top of the American. I've been to that stadium before. It's 30,000 seats. Kind of put in context what it means for at JMU, we expect to sell out Gardner-Webb, Weber State. I think sometimes JMU fans living in that bubble don't really grasp what it means that we consistently sell out our stadium regardless of who the opponent is.
Yeah, Taylor, having spent the last couple of days in South Louisiana, I get asked the question a lot about, how much do you love where you are? And, that answer is tremendously. And, they'll say, what's so different? And there's really two things that I point to. It's the expectations, but it's the fan support. There's not a lot of places that can fill, and whether we have a 25,000 seat stadium or a soon to be, 30 to 35,000, right? Whatever that number ends up being, maybe more, right? Not a lot of people have that. And I'm not even talking about the group of 5 or group of 6, right? I'm talking power 4. I watch games in the Rose Bowl. They don't have what we have, right?
Yep.
I watch games at Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham. They don't have that.
Yep.
And we do. And I think our fan base deserves a ton of credit. They deserve all the credit, right, for that. Yes, the product on the field is worth supporting, but they show up. And when they show up, and then what they did last week, right, getting there early, being engaged, being loud. Our fans were phenomenal, staying through at least the start of the fourth quarter. There's a reason why the second half was what it was, right? It was
Right.
both of those things syncing up, and it's special moments like that.
Well, and kind of continuing down that line of contextualizing just the college football landscape, especially as it relates to the G5, what are some areas that you'd like to say to our fan base where you feel we're really excelling from a revenue standpoint on the G5 level? And then what are some areas that you would like to see us grow in that our fan base could help come along and do so?
From a revenue standpoint, we have a mix of 18 programs, right? And so we get sports sponsorship distribution there, which is healthy, right? It's anything really, I think, above 14 that we get some numbers for. So I think we have a good mix of programs. We award a lot of the scholarships. And so, that's NCAA revenues that we can control. I think from, the Sun Belt Conference standpoint, anybody will tell you, it's a deal that our current commissioner inherited. We wish we got more from ESPN, and there will be a time and place to renegotiate that. And hopefully when we have that opportunity, we can generate additional revenues from that. But, in athletics, we really control 3 pieces, right? We control ticketing, which, we're excelling in. We control Duke Club and philanthropy, which, again, you just heard me say just a moment ago, we're ascending at a high rate. And then we obviously have our multimedia rights that we work with Learfield and JMU Sports Properties with. And, over the last 6 years, we've had record-breaking revenues in each one of those. But a lot of, the other ones that, sometimes they're, maybe athletics, sometimes they're not. But we certainly have partnership is in that licensing and royalties area. And again, what we do with the foundation, the attention that they give that, the ideas that we collaborate on, that has helped move the needle. And then, one of the other ones is something like concessions, right? People coming and when they come to games, they're buying drinks, they're buying food. Those are all things that, whether directly or indirectly, it moves the needle for us. And again, a lot of people aren't doing what we're able to do because their fans don't care the way ours do, right? Their fans don't show up, right? Their fans don't want to wear their gear. Their fans don't, partake when they're inside of those venues the way that ours do. And so that puts us in phenomenal position among our peer set.
Well, and I know that whether it's revenue generating through fundraising or through other means, a big component of that is education. And even in my role, fundraising and healthcare, it's almost if you could freeze time and sit down one-on-one and educate everyone to the ceiling of what the context is of the entire environment. You feel like you could be very successful. So a lot of it is just getting that message out there. What do you think maybe is contextualizing? I'm trying to put my words together here, right? That really our fan base needs to understand when it comes to, the ROI that JMU has right now, the type of program we're putting on the field, the wins we're getting, and you see the schools that are spending exponentially more and are not having the same success. What is kind of the biggest educational hurdle that our fan base needs to kind of understand in order to continue supporting this team and allowing us to have the success that we've had on the field?
Ooh, that's a really good question, Taylor. maybe it's not contextual, but maybe there's a charge there. It's just now is not the time to rest on what we've accomplished thus far, right? To me, it's easy to look at, hey, we're doing what we're doing and we're getting the output that we're satisfied with. My thing is, let's do a little bit more and we'll be even more satisfied with that output, right? I don't know that there's always a correlation. I can't say that there's always a correlation, but typically input matches output. And if we want, even going back to your revenue question just a moment ago, right? Two things that would move the needle for us are to be in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, women's basketball tournament every single year and advance. And it's to be college football playoff relevant, right? To be one of those teams that cracks through and a part of that playoff. Those are things that are, game changers, in terms of revenue and the exposure and the visibility and what all that would do. And so, my piece would say, while incredibly appreciative, and I never ever want to be perceived as just being known as chasing a dollar, right? But the thing that I will always stress is, we appreciate anyone and everyone for doing anything and everything that they possibly can, whether that's buying a ticket, a t-shirt, joining the Duke Club, it doesn't matter, because there is a correlation between that and what we might expect on the field and on the courts.
Well, this last thing is less of a question, more of a statement, and then I'll kick it back to John. But the conversations I've had with you on this podcast, the conversation we've had around the tailgate, and then the conversations I've heard other people have with President Jim, it seems like the two of you and the rest of the leadership at JMU is willing to go as far as the JMU fan base will take them. And so that there's, like you said, there's no reason to sit back on the sideline. And for those that are saying, well, I would support JMU, but I'm just not sure X, Y, Z. It seems like you guys are ready to push athletics to the level that the JMU fan base is willing to support. And I think that makes this a really exciting time, combined with the success, not just in football, but across all of our sports at JMU that we're having right now.
One of the things that we're going through, and I certainly appreciate the exercise, it's, as you go through the strategic planning exercise, you start to hear one as a group of division heads, right? And certainly input from our board, but the president has done his listening tour, right? And has gone to different markets and certainly a lot of places on campus and a lot of places throughout the Commonwealth, and with an open ear and very curious to find out what it is that our fans want. And our fans want a robust athletics department. They want a broad-based, successful athletics department that is a point of pride, that helps attract new and prospective students, and enhances the student experience on our campus the way it has for generations before. And President Jim dreams big. We're having conversations right now about, we want to make sure that we can control what we can control. And you can't really worry about what might exist, 4 or 5 years from now. But if we can control what we can control, right? If we can, again, invest, if we can build, if we can do the things that we need to do, we really kind of put our destiny in our own hands. And we want to continue to compete at the very highest level of the NCAA. And one of the things that the exercises that we're going through as an athletics department is, if there ever would be a line of demarcation drawn, it's really going to be drawn between those that are currently autonomous schools and conferences and everyone else. Well, let's look at what defines an autonomous school and let's strive for that, right? Let's be that, even if right now we don't have that label. And I think with the president's support of our board, and most importantly, I think the support of JMU Nation, that's achievable at our place.
Well, we talked a little about this pre-show a little bit, how, every athletic program thinks that, well, if we have this level of success, we're never going to get, or we're going to lose out to XY program. But as you and I mentioned, I have a buddy that's at a top 5 school in the SEC right now, and they're worried about, well, we don't know if we can ever be this school. So it almost seems like that concern that maybe JMU fans have, that, well, we're having too much success and our players are too good, that every program around the country is also, it's not unique to JMU. Everyone is having to deal with this new landscape, but it seems like JMU, especially with 23 plus seasons of winning records on the football field, it seems like the culture and the environment at JMU is something that's been consistent regardless of the players and the coaches that have come and gone. And as you mentioned earlier, this is a place you want to play at, you want to be at because of the proven success that we've had.
Yeah, I don't think there's any such thing as too successful, right? So we want to win every single time that we compete, right? Because that makes each one of y'all proud. That's what you want to be associated with. That's where you talk about that return on the investment, right? That's the investment in the experience, but it's the investment in the marketing arm of the institution. When people pay attention to JMU, we want them to know that means winning. That means and screams excellence. And Taylor, yeah, I mean, I think the point that you raise is a valid one. I'm sure as folks watch games, right, they think about, hey, that means that this player is going to leave, or that means that this coach might not be here for very long. But for us, I go back to that control what we can control. We want to invest in those things, right? We can't put our heads in the sand. It is a new era, and we can't just say, hey, it is what it is, and we'll try over or start over. We have to double down. We have to make sure that we're taking care of our own, that we're investing in talent. And if for whatever reason that talent would choose to move elsewhere, we positioned, I think, everything to be better for the next person to come in. And I think in time, as long as they subscribe to the JMU way, I think the people that are sitting in the stands will support them just like they do anybody else, and we'll keep this thing going.
So, Matt, you mentioned now is not the time to rest on our laurels, and I think it's an interesting segue into bringing President Jim into this discussion, because whether it's been on our platform twice now, on a number of other kind of fan-based podcasts and kind of street scene interviews, not only has he talked about an exciting vision for what athletics can be, he's somebody that's bought into even knowing the statistics around our defense stuff. And I can't imagine there are more than a handful of university presidents in the country that could cite that our defense hasn't given up 300 yards yet. So first of all, how exciting is it for you to have a partner like that, but also in a time of college athletics when every day there's a new headline of this change that's coming to college sports, or there's this potential hurdle you have to overcome. Having somebody who is as dialed in and also willing to be out front talking about this issue and why fans need to have it, that has to be very important at a time when we have to be nimble, we have to be flexible to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can say that your president is a fan, and that might invoke, maybe some negative connotations. But when I say that President Jim is a fan, it's been really cool for me, right? We go to Louisville in week 2. We're hosting a group up in the visiting AD suite there. And, I look and he's not there, because I look across the field and he's on the sideline, and he's, high-fiving players as they're coming out of the tunnel. And, he's visiting with alpha dogs who are on the field and having that access. It is really cool to see. Again, I go back to, and use this word earlier, but sincerity, right? There's, first off, a phenomenal human being, understands the importance of athletics and is having a good time doing it. But I'll even use his words that he used, right? So that I'm not putting words in his mouth. He did the best that he possibly could in August to meet as many teams as he possibly could, with obviously the demands of his schedule. And I remember vividly when we introduced him to the football program. Obviously he said coaches coach and players play. Our job as the AD and the president are to give them the infrastructure and the resources they need to be successful, and to have a partner just in that process. Again, talking about the importance, talking about what is possible. This is the big time to him, as it should be, because it's the big time. It is big time college sports, right? And just hearing his passion, hearing and seeing kind of how he lights up when he talks about athletics and what it's like for him and his family to experience a game day. It's been a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, and it's been great to get a chance to meet his wife and see, again, another partner who's embracing this community. Kind of wrapping up the last couple of questions. You have another partner in the athletic space who I know is integral to the program's growth and success in Cliff Wood now as a general manager. The last time we had you on, that wasn't as official yet. Now that's out there, and Cliff's doing great work. Speak to his role, not just from the the contract management negotiations, but just as a business mind who also understands college athletics, but understands the corporate interests and the growth and the marketing angles. It has to be great to be able to lean on someone with his skill set as we advance in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, first off, Cliff and Kristen, incredibly generous, of their time, their talent, their treasure, before we brought him on as GM. And so for that, I always want to make sure that I say thank you to him and her for just everything that they've done to get JMU athletics to where it is today. Obviously the role that you, Cliff, had with the collective, and the collective still doing what it's doing. That was vision. That was a lot of time. That was a lot of probably just commitment, right? To leaning into this era and helping shape again. We're 6-1 right now because of the work that the collective has helped with. But I think our coaches could not have a better partner. Cliff brings so many years of experience and expertise to being able to again handle those negotiations, to really just kind of talk about strategy, not making roster decisions per se, but just encouraging our coaches to kind of bring and that business mindset to that space. So obviously tremendous resource for them, and you hit the nail on the head, right? A tremendous resource for me. Jonathan will probably in the next few weeks, kind of, I've taken 18 months to do it, but I think now the time is right for our structure and athletics to evolve, right? What that looks like, how it's organized in a lot of ways. And, I think what we've always done well is traditional athletics administration. But you can almost kind of see our organization still having that, but I think, revenue generation and business strategy is that complementary piece. And what a resource for me to have Cliff in our building as a part of our team, where I can ask him questions and he could certainly give unsolicited input to how we build that and what that model looks like moving forward.
Well, and kind of my wrap up for this, and I'll let you take it anywhere you want to go, is all of these things are happening, whether it's the fundraising growth, the reimagining of a potential stadium and the infrastructure around it to maybe an athletics complex. You have a president who's doing his listening tour. You have athletic structural changes. It's coming at a time of unprecedented change, and it's all about setting ourselves up not only for success in the Sun Belt, but success in any potential model that's down the road. When you look at the landscape of college athletics now, and again, as I mentioned, every day there's rumors of this conference or this super group or a breakoff point. I guess I just kind of want you to double down on why success in this moment is so important, because of controlling what we can control, you also have to have an eye on what's coming next.
Yeah, I think, kind of a phrase that popped into my mind as you're kind of going through that is success without labels. You've heard me talk about, right? I hate when people say JMU is a mid-major. I'll be honest with you. I don't like when we're in that group of 6 discussion, because I don't think that's who we are, right? There's nothing mid-major or group of 6 about our fan base, as I just told Taylor, right? People in the A4, the Power 4, they don't have what we have. And so to me, it's success without label. And so for us, it's controlling our destiny. It's putting our feet in our hands, strategically investing, pushing the right buttons as often as we possibly can, to make sure that we have phenomenal people in our buildings, that we're giving them the tools, following the processes that we need to be successful, so that enrollment continues to grow, that alums and donors are motivated to give back, and the best for JMU is still ahead, at the very highest level possible.
Well, Matt, you've given us almost 40 minutes of your time on a Sunday, and I just want to say these types of conversations are rare in the college athletics landscape, I imagine, and your commitment to transparency, your commitment to accessibility, I'm going to say it every time I get a chance to talk to you, is noticed and it's appreciated, and it gives us an opportunity to put a different kind of roadmap together towards how we can help and how fans can partner with you side by side in bringing the athletic program to where we all want it to go. And we will always say thank you for that, because it's the more people we have rowing in that direction, the more success we can continue to have. I'll give you one last opportunity just to say anything you want to anybody in the fan base. It's your floor.
No, I think you you said it right. To me, it's together. Going back to where this started, my remarks yesterday at the Hall of Fame speech were, I get to stand up here because of things that we did, and I've never seen myself, and I certainly don't see myself now as the only authority. We're always going to be open to ideas. When they're good, right? So throw out the bad ones before you share those with me on a Twitter or in a tweet or on a message board. But we're always going to be open to those ideas, right? We don't have them all ourselves, and so we appreciate that feedback. It is your athletics department, right? It is your alma mater. It is your institution, and I just get to sit and talk about it, and obviously push the right buttons with a lot of people around me. To have the success that I hope that people are proud of. And so this takes the team, and I like the direction that we're heading.
Well, you took a rocket ship and you injected some high octane fuel in it, and it's moving higher and higher, and it's great to see. So you have to get back on the road. You have to leave this lovely hotel. You have to find another Buc-ee's for Mallory so she can finish her shopping trip. But I will see you down in Texas, and I think my flight leaves at like 5:30 in the morning or something. So bright and early, I'll be down there. Thanks again, Matt, and go Dukes. Will be a big game on Tuesday, and we'll get another W and keep the ship moving.
Go Dukes, and we'll see you in Texas tomorrow, and a big game on Tuesday.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
All right.
All right, and with that, Michael and Taylor are back. Man, again,
that was really cool. That was a pretty awesome opportunity.
Just end the show. Just roll the credits. But no, but in all seriousness, I mean, I think there's a lot that comes out of that conversation that we can touch on and take probably multiple programs to really digest what was said. But really, a few headlines coming out of it, though, is again, now is not the time to rest on our laurels. We all have a role to play in advancing this program to where we want to be, control what we can control. But again, it's incredibly exciting to have somebody that listens to the fan base. I think that is so incredibly valuable, that the good ideas, the bad ideas, and everything in between, he's at least taking in that input. He's taking that data. It's allowing him to shape the direction that this athletics program is, and to then have a partner on a listening tour who understands what this university athletic department means. It's pretty special.
Yep. It's pretty great too when you look at it. And I think Taylor brought up a good point. You look at it, North Texas having a great year, selling out their stadium for the first time. And I think what did Matt say? There's nothing G6 about James Madison University.
Nothing mid-major. Yeah.
Nothing mid-major around it. And you compare it, right? You think about some of the American schools. What does a game day look like at a Temple? What does a game day look like in an ACC school like a Boston College or a Duke? The only difference there is the TV money, right? And I think right now that is the separation. We're about to talk about, a Texas State program here moving to the Pac-10, Pac-11, or whatever they call it. The difference there is the TV contracts. And I love that Roan attacked it and goes, the Sun Belt inherited a contract that was negotiated years before we got here, maybe even before App or ODU. Taylor, you could probably check me on that. You probably know that better than me.
I mean, before Marshall and Southern Miss and all the other ones that came on. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So that is right now the line of demarcation, right, with some of these programs is some of that additional revenue that be coming in and offsetting and paying for the coaching salaries and all of that stuff. So I think it's great for the JMU fans to understand that, because you sell out a 25,000 stadium every year for, since we're in FCS, and you hear in North Texas selling out theirs for the first time in however how long. It really just shows the evolution of the program. And when we hear about some of the bickering about, oh, we're having a great season, this person's leaving, we're not going to get this person back, you got to look at things from a different perspective, because that's the world we live in now, and you got to live in the moment, because right now we're doing something really special and we have to get behind the team.
And Taylor, can I ask you, because I'll cite it so you don't have to say it. You did work at UTSA, and
I did.
Have some fun with it. But why I do think that continues to come up, and I actually do think it adds a lot of value, is you not only had an opportunity to work with another athletics administration and see how another university that's growing and amplifying their athletics department approaches things, but you also went around the country engaging with other departments and peer institutions and see how their AD and presidents approach things and fundraising staff. How rare is it to have an AD on a podcast on a Sunday who's plugged in on Twitter, who's responding to questions that user 326L with a egg emoji as their profile? He's not just listening to the top donors. He's engaging. He's formulating plans. that doesn't feel like it happens everywhere. I don't know.
Well, and it's the perfect storm because you got President Jim too. I mean, on move-in day, he was out there with the freshmen moving folks in. I mean, you've caught him twice in the tailgates before a game, just chatting up people. I mean, you have two people that are very public, front-facing, out there listening and engaging with folks. And this is not to put anything on anyone that has or hasn't or any other school, but you have two people that are willing to put themselves out there, make themselves available. You see how quickly they turn the feedback into results. And even with Michael joking about, the on screen or on the Jumbotron, the Bitcoin stuff. I mean, they are engaged. They have their pulse on this fan base, and there is nothing out there. There's not a topic out there that's not being addressed. And so I think in terms of transparency and availability, they've done that. And that's where I really encourage people that have maybe been on the sideline and said, it's not that I don't love JMU and it's not that I don't want to invest in JMU. It's just I want that investment to be worth it. I want to know that if I do my part, will the school step up and do theirs? And so far, I cannot think of an example where this administration, either in athletics or the school at large, has not stepped up and done what they had the potential to do.
Well, again, a massive tip of the cap, not only to Matt, Mallory, the kids, but to everyone now on this athletics department staff that I feel like has just been given a massive infusion of energy, support from their admin, trust in their talents, trust in where they want to take this go. Because again, he continues to bring it back to everyone else that's helping in this endeavor. And whether it's podcasts like us or others in the media sphere, donors, people who are going out to those college tours where they interact with students, there's just a ton of momentum right now. And it's coming at a period of time that is critically important as we all look at the headlines of college athletics. I've never been more confident that whatever comes next, we're at least doing everything that's in our control to position ourselves for success. Yeah, there's going to be things that not only are going to affect us, but it's going to affect everybody that you can't control. But it seems like we've entered a phase where we're no longer monitoring. We're trying to lead the discussion and try. Yeah, some people will pick up on that.
12 to 18 months, John.
Yeah, no more. We're more thinking.
12, yeah.
12 to 18 minutes, it seems like, literally trying to find the best Wi-Fi spot in a hotel. And that, it's a small thing. How many ADs would have canceled this interview because their Wi-Fi wasn't working? He was nimble enough to find a spot because he understands what commitments matter, what presenting yourself in a positive life matter. It's a really comprehensive view of looking at it. I want to stay on this, but we have to pivot because there's other things to talk about. Before we get into Texas State, I just want to take a kind of a brief pause. I don't know why, but it feels like a good time to look at where we are now as a team going into this game. 6-1, undefeated in the Sun Belt. Our entire destiny in our hands in terms of controlling what our ultimate goal was getting to a Sun Belt championship, hosting a Sun Belt championship game, and then whatever comes after that, who knows what happens in the college football playoff if you're successful. I just want to get each of you, I'll start with you, Michael, where your head's at now, especially looking back to what we thought would happen before this season goes, where you're at kind of at the midpoint of this season and looking at this team.
Yeah, extremely bullish, John, because you look at where this team started, some of the off-season challenges that we came in with, right? Alonzo Barnett, 6 new receivers, a brand new defensive line, new defensive coordinator, maybe not as of a big of a roster turnover last year, but still 54 new players. And to see this program be 6-1, seeing what's happening across college football, it's pretty phenomenal, right? And I kind of said it maybe 1 or 2 shows ago. At some point, we have to get behind this team because even through some of the adversity, we found a way to win and we found a way to push through, whether it's our defense or the offense making plays. And I alluded this team where I can kind of compare a little bit back to some of the JMU greats. You think about the 2016 national championship team where, remember, that defense could not play defense the year before. And I remember that it was at the Villanova game in overtime. And I think Cole Johnson had to play for injured Brian Shore. And that defense stepped up against one of the top offenses in the country. And after that, the whole dynamic changed. And you saw the defense play with confidence. Or you look at 2023, the Jordan McLeod team, where it's like there's so many questions. Alonzo Barnett gets benched. The team wasn't clicking. I think, John, you alluded to it. Maybe the ball doesn't bounce a certain way. And, does that 12-2 team become, 9-4 or whatever, right? 9-5. And you look at the ODU game, I look at that as being a bit of can it be an accelerator for us or a jump off? Can it be our 2016 Villanova game where like this team now has the confidence, the drive, the mentality that they can not just beat players or beat teams, they could beat it in a fashion like they did last Saturday, and they're going to need to, right? This Texas State team, don't let the 0-3 record in the Sun Belt confuse you. Each of these losses were by one score, and two of them were in overtime. Like, this is a legitimate team that we need to be worried about. And I guarantee we've put on additional time and effort. I think Coach Hitch said it at the post game last Saturday. He told Dave, was like, hey, this win's great, but I need to watch some tape because the Texas State team we're playing is big time, and we're going to need every minute of preparation we can get.
Taylor.
Well, so we've hit on being 6-1 and everything. I was going back to the 2023 schedule. We're beating Virginia by 1, we're beating Troy by 2, we're beating Utah State by 7, we're beating South Alabama by 8. We were not blowing those teams out, and yet people think about that last year with Cignetti as like the pinnacle of JMU football. We're 6-1 right now, and yes, the Georgia State game was ugly, but we blew out Georgia Southern, we blew out Liberty, we blew out Old Dominion. When I hear people say like, yeah, but we struggled in the first half of Liberty, or man, that Louisiana game we should have won by more. I mean, we're at the point now where we're 6-1, we're still winning by double digits, and we're finding reasons to complain. I mean, we are as much in the college football playoff race as any other G5 team. I'm not saying we're at the same point, but I mean, we're right there in that top 5 grouping. We're back and getting votes in both top 25 coaches polls, both the coaches poll and the AP. I was even looking, we're right next to LSU in both the AP top 25 and the coaches poll 25. That's an athletic program that almost has a $200 million budget. They have a $10 to $15 million budget just for their NIL, just for football NIL. Massive fan base, massive investment, and the ROI of what we're producing on the field right now is equal to a team of that. So that's where I really want to put into focus the ROI of college football and what JMU has continued to do consistently. I posted last week about the 22 win streak in Virginia. I've mentioned tons of times about the 23 plus winning seasons or non-losing seasons. I know there was that one year we were 6-6, so I can't say all winning seasons. But JMU has continued to be consistent, and there's a reason why we're selling out every game, even if it's a Gardner-Webb or a Weber State or a Bucknell. I think because of some of the anxiousness and anxiety early in the year, who's going to be QB1? Is Alonzo healthy? It's second year of Coach Chesney. Is he going to be able to reproduce the numbers they had last year? There was a lot of anxiety, but when you look at it, the 6-1 record that we have, not a lot of the games have been close. There's an argument to be made that we're in a better position now than we were 2 years ago against in 2023. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited, and I want to echo Michael's comments about Texas State as we head into that conversation. Texas State, in my opinion, is the antithesis of UVA. Texas State, because of a couple bad bounces, they've lost 2 games in overtime recently. They're 0-3 in conference. I think they were like 1 point. A 1 point loss, and then 2 overtime losses. UVA right now is sitting at 6-1, 7-1, but they're on the other side of that. The ball has bounced in their favor. So I think while I think a UVA team is a bit overrated for their record, I think Texas State might be the best 3-4 or winless conference team in the country right now. And this is one of those games where nothing's normal. It's a Tuesday night. It's the longest cross-country flight that we have. It's a conference game, but I'm sure the crowd is not going to be what it normally is at Texas State. So there's a lot of factors that we need to be paying attention to. And, if Mickey Matthews was on this podcast, he'd be telling you this right now, that this is probably the game that you got to put the most focus into to come out successful.
Well, Michael, take us through this matchup, because I saw both Dean Kennedy and Colin Hitchler's press conferences this week where they talked about the matchup. One thing that stood out with Coach Hitchler is he said, hey, we put a lot of things on tape from a negative perspective as well that we've now got to fix going against an offense like Texas State that can really hurt you with a quarterback who may be young in terms of his experience on the college football field, but certainly doesn't look like that in terms of that on film when you look at him. How do you see this matchup, and are there a couple of areas that you're going to be looking at early in the game that may be determinative in terms of what the final outcome is going to be?
Yeah, no doubt. I think number one that fans need to realize is this is not the same Texas State program that Everett Withers went to in 2015, or even the program that we beat 40-13 in 2022 during the tornado game. That was a program where, if I remember, when Withers left, they were doing their workouts in a high school gym across the street. And when we played them in 2022, they were a perennial doormat, right? I think they were the doormat of the Sun Belt. They haven't had any success since transitioning up from, I think they were FCS, I think in the late 2000s. So this is certainly a team to beat. And the name that really stands out to me, and everyone will talk about the Brad Jacksons, the Bo Sparks, who is the quarterback and receiver, is Lincoln Pare, their running back. If that name sounds familiar, if you rewatch the 2022 game, he was a freshman in that game and he did a bit of damage, and he's still there at Texas State. I think he's got 1,600 yards, 23 rushes on the ground, almost over 5 yards a carry. The offense starts with him. And yes, they have a dynamic freshman quarterback. They have a dynamic receiver. And candidly, if you watch, if you look at how ODU football plays offense and how spread out they are and the tempo, you throw some more gas on it and you speed it up and you go faster and then you go faster again. That's Texas State. They don't care if they score in 14 seconds and 14 minutes. They are kind of like, I'll throw this back. They're 2014 JMU football where they want to play 80 plays a game on offense. And they don't care if the score is 72-68. They only care if they score more points than you. So I think that's the number one. And I feel like it's an advantage, right? I know Coach Hitch did a fantastic job against ODU. I think it was good for us to play an ODU team that had a dynamic dual threat quarterback, because arguably Brad Jackson at Texas State is probably just as dangerous, if not more, than Colton Joseph. They've got a dynamic number one receiver in Bo Sparks, but they play that wide open offense. And if anyone knows, G.J. Kinney, he was a fantastic college quarterback at Tulsa, played in the NFL, took over the team at the start of the 2023 year. And he literally said, we're going to spread this thing out and we're going to go. He kind of gives like a Mike Leach flair to his offensive design. But we're going to need every player on defense. So by the way, we only have one player out with the availability report from yesterday, which is, shout out Coach Grotsky and the team. But this offense is going to be a handful. And it's supposed to be a blackout crowd, I believe. The first 10,000 students are getting like a black T-shirt down in San Marcos. So they're going to try to bring the energy when, historically a Tuesday night game is more of a sleeper than anything.
Awesome. Well, again, it's the matchup from my perspective on defense. If this does seem to me like the most dynamic offense we faced. I know we focused a lot on ODU just because of them being in the division. There just seems like a lot of weapons. Now, on the other side of that, it also just seemed like our defense got some extra days to rest, got some extra days to self-scout what went wrong against ODU. And I think the challenge from Coach Hisler coming into this week was, hey, a couple of games now in a row, we've given up early touchdowns. And that's something that needs to be corrected. There was plenty in this matchup for him to get some extra juice out of the motivation side of getting this defense ready to play. And that's to me where I look at success. Now, from an offensive perspective, Taylor, we were kind of waiting for a breakout performance from Alonzo Barnett. We get it in a big way. We get the breakout game from Landon Ellis. Nick DeGennaro now comes into this offense to be a weapon. We're getting healthier at the running back position. So could it be a game where George Pettaway, Iowa Dye, going back to Texas now, can now be a factor? What about that side of the ball going into this matchup against Texas State?
Well, to echo Michael's point about, we're 7 games into the season. We have 2 guys on the injury report, only 1 that's out. That's a credit to everyone on that staff and getting everyone healthy. We've started to see more of Pettaway, and there's been a couple of those where they throw him out into the slot and he goes downfield, right? I feel like that's going to connect at some point, looking for a big game for him. I think what it's also done, it's allowed, Wayne Knight, who's arguably been the most consistent and, dare I say, best player on the offense so far this year, to not have to take all the focus and everyone just keying in on him. And our wide receivers continue to produce and more of them become more of a threat. So Texas State right now is not having to prepare just for one player, one threat. I think our offense is in a position to have another breakout game in this situation. I think Texas State being on the road on a Tuesday night, all those variables that we talked about earlier, this is going to show if the progress that we saw from Georgia State to Louisiana and Louisiana to ODU, can we maintain that? and can we continue that? If we do well against this Texas State team, again, I think it's the most deceiving record probably in all of college football. I would say this and the Marshall game are the two biggest hurdles left for us. I'm not writing off anything else for the rest of the season, but really we have a lot to prove. And the way these games line up, where we've had the extra days leading up to Texas State, we're going to have extra days leading up to Marshall. We're just in a great position. I really hope that we're able to capitalize on it. And but I'm really bullish on Tuesday night.
So, Michael, just kind of maybe last around the horn about this game. Are there some keys to our success in terms of that you're looking at whole, offense, defense, special teams involved, that you would say kind of the three keys to what brings us into a place on Tuesday night to get out of San Marcos with a 1-point win or more, because that's all it takes?
Yeah, I'll give you the boring answer, and I'll give you kind of a fun one. I think the boring answer is, if you look at some of the PFF ratings, Texas State has one of the highest rated offensive lines and defensive lines in the conference, right? And up front, they've got this guy named Khalil Alexander, number 2, 6'3", 225 from Charlotte, about as twitchy as they come. And you could see that guy making a lot of plays in the backfield. We're going to see a lot of that, right? So the boring answer is line of scrimmage play. When you look at what we did versus ODU, when you look at what we did in the second half, particularly versus Louisiana, this offensive line, which we had a lot of questions about since we had 2 or 3 new starters and some injuries, has completely dominated, right? Like we talked about the offensive passing performance from last week with Alonzo Barnett and the receivers. We still put 311 yards on the ground. And I think 160 of that was from the running backs. Obviously, Barnett had a fantastic day, rushing the ball. So I think there's a big key there. And then on the defensive line, Mandy Bush, Holmes, all those guys up front, just making it very difficult for Brad Jackson to be comfortable is going to be a game changer for us. And on the fun side, I'm going to read off some of these scores. Texas State beats Eastern Michigan 52-27. They beat UTSA, sorry, Taylor, 43-36. They lose to Arizona State 34-15. They beat Nichols 35-3. They lose to Arkansas State 31-30, lose to Troy 48-41. And Taylor, you mentioned Marshall. They lose to Marshall 40-37 in overtime. This is a team that expects and wants, maybe they don't want, but it's probably their best chance to win. They want a shootout, right? And they want a shootout. They want to score a lot of points. Like I said earlier, whether it takes 14 seconds or 14 minutes, that's the type of game we're going to be in. I expect maybe an onside kick. How are they going to steal 1 or 2 possessions from us? Some trick plays on offense. GJ Kinney's done that a ton before. They're a type of offense that will take the 3 to 4 yards in front of them, whatever way possible, to keep the team moving. And they're going to rush to the ball right away and try to do a quick dive to Lincoln Paré. We have to be very mindful and get the calls in. I think that's a challenge, right? Because Coach Hitch mentions we didn't get the calls in on time in the first half versus ODU. John, we called it out at Georgia State. There was a ton of substitution errors on defense, particularly in the defensive line, where we got penalties or we had to waste timeouts. We cannot afford to do that on the road on Tuesday versus Texas State. We got to clean that up.
Well, and that's if we're playing a team that likes to win in shootouts, that's why I like our chances. I said this before the Old Dominion game. No matter what our offense does, teams still have to score against us. And no one has scored more than 3 offensive touchdowns against us all year. I think Texas State has a very good offense. I do not think they're the best offense. I think Old Dominion and Louisville are much better offenses than they were. So, if I'm putting Texas State in that 2 to 3 touchdown category, again, the offense really just needs to produce in the upper 20s to win this game. But how the offense has been playing the last couple of games, I expect to see this offense put up 30+ points, if not more, on the road. I did just see the line came out. We're only a 6.5 point favorite. I do think that's pretty fair. We're on the road. Texas State's been pretty close. Again, just don't buy into the records because this is a good Texas State team.
Awesome. Well, guys,
weren't we like, wasn't ODU supposed to beat us by 3 on game day? Is that
yeah?
I don't know anything about the Lions, Taylor. Was that correct? Like, I think they were supposed to win, right?
I think we had the line. I think we were a 1.5 favorite, but I think on the ESPN predictor, they were like a 55% or 57% chance. So yeah, Old Dominion was favored to win in Harrisonburg last week by certain metrics. And again, teams have to score on us. I just don't see many teams able to put up the points on us that they're going to need to win.
There you go. All right, Michael, I'm going to go to you for your final thoughts. Anything you want to take it to kind of wrap the episode?
No, I think final thoughts for me is, if you're down in Texas, John, I know you're going to be heading down to the game. be loud, be proud. We're going to be on national TV. I always love when I watch the broadcast and I hear the JMU chants in the background when we're on the road. It's phenomenal. It's I don't want to say it's free, but it's free publicity, right, for the JMU brand. And I think this is the farthest west we've gone since 2021 when we played at Weber State. So I'm curious, like, what's the preparation there? Are we going to go there? Maybe are we going to spend as little time possible on the ground? That was kind of Signetti's point of view, is like, this less time we're there, the better. Are we going to go down a day early in practice? I don't really know. But yeah, if you're making the trip, like, be loud, be proud. I'm really excited to see how we fare. This Texas State program is going to the Pac-12, I think, next year, right? This is a program that is allegedly on their mindset on a rise, right? They're ascending in terms of college football. So be curious how we match up. And lastly here is, like, what do they say, right? Like, championship football is teams that can stop the run and run the football. And when you look at what the identity that we talked about in week 2, what I really wanted is the identity of this team is they're going to get 4 to 5 yards on the ground when they want to, and they could stop the run on defense. And if we do that, I think everything else takes care of itself.
There you go. Taylor.
Michael mentioned the farthest west since the Weber State game. There was also the Utah State, the Signetti cell phone game, thanks to our buddy Matt Costner. Matt Costner, former JMU video productions and everything at JMU Athletics. I want to give him a shout out. Me and him got a fun little back and forth on Twitter, on X last week about us reclaiming country roads from West Virginia. For anyone that does need a geography lesson, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River do not go through West Virginia. And then Matt tried to get me on the moonshiner comment, saying you don't really think that Virginia produces more moonshine than West Virginia, only to—
He had no idea what bear he was poking.
Listen, Franklin County, wettest county in the world. The Bondurants, they had the movie Lawless. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. But Matt Bondurant, JMU alum, wrote the book Wettest County in the World down there in Franklin, Virginia. So Franklin County, Virginia. So yeah, country roads, we're reclaiming that for Virginia. My only final thought was, there's been a post on X that was kind of going around on social media from Danny Cannell. And he said, let's just be honest, why do we really need to guarantee the G5 a spot in the playoffs? Well, my first thought to that is, if you're going to just consider us not in the same division, stop counting the wins and losses against us. Like, don't stop these SEC teams, stop putting us on your schedule and padding your record for 2 or 3 wins. But I think it's funny that SMU, I think, was 11-0 against the ACC until yesterday when they lost to Wake Forest. So they were a G5 move up. If you look at the top 3 teams right now leading the Big 12, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston. So I just think this misnomer of the G5 can't hang with the P4. It's just not true. The G5 was 4-5 in the NY6 bowls. I mean, it was almost a coin flip. Technically, they were 4-6 if you count that Liberty Bibberty game, but I don't think that should have ever happened because JMU wasn't allowed to play. So I don't count that. But again, history, there's just fewer times where the G5 gets to prove themselves against the P4. I mean, JMU got 1 shot this year. It was while we were still trying to pick between a quarterback that was rehabbing from a 9-month injury and another great quarterback, Max Luca. It's always at their place most of the time. So I just think that tweet was a little uneducated for him to put out there.
That's you could just see it's
but Danny Cannell, I will say he's one of the guys on X that I feel like he's somewhat level-headed a lot, although he's a big Florida State guy, obviously. So he, is always posting some hot takes there. But I just think my whole thing with the playoffs has always been, and I think I saw there's an account from Marshall. I can't remember the name of it right now, but they made a very good point that, college football is the only sports conference league in the entire world that doesn't give conference champs a shot at a championship. And my thing is, like, the playoffs should have every conference championship. And if you're like, well, do you really think the CUSA conference champions, do they really deserve to compete for a national championship? Well, then I say, then lower them down to division. I mean, either kick the teams out in the conferences that you do not think that conference championship can even compete on the same field as a P4, or give all the conference champions an opportunity. I know it's different than basketball because of the turnaround and how many times you can play games and the wear and tear on the body. I get all of that, and I understand why there are some good reasons it is what it is. But I just think the G5 continues to show why they are as good as they are. And the fact that between Memphis, South Florida, us, North Texas, Boise State, UNLV, even Navy, who's undefeated, all those teams at the top can keep beating up on each other, and all of them have some significant P4 wins as well. So, yeah, I think the G5 is a great brand of football, and JMU's at the top of it.
Yeah, and there's again, I think some of this all just nakedly comes down to finances. Why they don't want people to have access to this. I mean, it really does, because for every group of 5 team that gets into the mix, that's a Power 5 school that's not getting the attention. Like you mentioned, a school like LSU now falls out of the top 25. There's so many political influences and financial influences that affect it. That's why I like President Jim and Roan just continuing to champion the fact that there's nothing mid-major about a school like JMU. And when you act like that and you have that attitude, and that's backed by Richmond, continuing to want to infuse resources in this program and grow the university as a whole, that I think it positions us well for whatever comes next and whatever model winds up winning the day. My final thought, I'm bullish on Tuesday because Zach Bryce is going to be in attendance. Anybody who saw him in Bridgeport last week, that man's ready to roll. Eric Pitzer is going to be there. Kenny's going to be there. So I don't know how big of a away section we're going to have, but we're going to have some of the most passionate and engaged and fans who are willing to do whatever it takes. We may see shirts off. We may see God knows what's going to happen, especially at 8 p.m. kickoff. It should be interesting in San Marcos. My final thought is a basketball thought. I got a chance to go with Afton yesterday to the scrimmage or exhibition against the University of Richmond. Great group of JMU fans on hand. What I'll say about this team, I think they're going to be an incredibly hard-working team that's going to lead with defense. Was really impressive to see what they did against this UR team. They fall ultimately in the scoreboard, but for those who were there in attendance, it was obvious that we missed a lot of shots you're going to typically make 80 to 85% of the time. We haven't even halfway decent foul shooting performance yesterday. We're coming out with a win, but just saw a lot of effort, a lot of players in this group that I think are going to be very easy to root for. On the women's side, our women's getting top 25 coaching poll votes. So there's a lot to like there. And this is what is called in the business a segue and a teaser, because next week on JMU Sound Off, we're going to have both Preston Spradlin and Sean O'Regan on the show to preview the upcoming season, give their thoughts. We'll probably get them talking a little football as well. So yeah, back-to-back episodes with some big guests lined up for our show. And that's because you guys continue to tune in. So my final thought is thank you for continuing to watch our episodes, invest in our content. We're really seeing the growth continue. And that doesn't happen by accident. That's because we have an engaged and passionate fan base, and we're just happy to be a part of it in any way that we can. So shout out to that. Go Dukes. Let's keep this train moving. And with that, give a final shout out to our sponsors, Skyline Financial Partners, Champions Drive Bourbon, Where's Woody, Shoker Enterprises, the Dead Meat Society, Outdoor Kitchen Creations, and Valley Road Vineyards. Thank you for helping make Sound Off possible. And with that, we will be back next Sunday at 8 p.m. for another episode of JMU Sound Off, hopefully celebrating the Dukes being 7-1 and continued to be undefeated in the Sun Belt Conference. And with that, go Dukes.